Welcome back to Off the Cuff. I'm Corey Knowles here this morning with our co-host David Shell from First State Bank and Trust here in Dexter, and have a special guest this morning, Senator Rob Mayer. How you doing, Rob?
Well, I'm good, Corey. It's good to be
Morning,
here,
Rob.
David. My pleasure.
Good to see
be on
you.
the program.
All right. You've been up there, been busy this week,
Well,
haven't
it has been a busy week. We here in the Missouri Senate have been working on the budget, and of course, it's been a challenge. As I told you, gentlemen, prior to coming on, that Missouri has really struggled with our budget, and we've struggled because our economy hadn't rebounded as well as we'd like for it to have rebounded. Back in about sometime in 2008, I say about September of '08 is when we noticed the Great Recession hit, and for two fiscal years '09 and '10, Missouri saw the revenue fall off by over 16%. Which is a considerable amount of money for us. It's over $1 billion. So
Wow.
we have struggled since that time to keep the budget balanced and maintain as much funding to education as we possibly can. We've done that, and but it's been a challenge.
It has. It has. I know. Like we were talking about earlier, it's been a few times. It's looked like it was coming back up, but it's been a struggle for you guys up there, I imagine.
Well, it has, just like it has been for families here in southeast Missouri and across the state and across the nation. We've tightened up our belts and tried to be as efficient as we possibly could. We've maintained level funding for K through 12 education throughout the last couple of years, and this year we're actually going to be able to give a small increase of a little over $5 million. So,
Oh, that's great.
That's great, yeah.
we think that's a positive. Also, we were able to level fund higher education. The governor, in his proposal that he brought forth at the beginning of session in the State of the State, was actually going to reduce funding to higher education, and so we've been able to maintain level funding, keep the level funding from a year ago. We believe that it's important for Missouri to continue to encourage people to strive to get a higher education degree or come up with some skill or vocation which will make them more employable and will provide them a better standard of living.
You know, and keeping that money coming into higher education keeps it a little more affordable. I know that's a big concern these days.
It is a big concern. I know that a lot of people have kids that are going to school right now. I just, my family and my three boys, the last one graduated a couple of years ago, so I know what it means to face the high costs that are incurred when you seek a higher education degree.
Oh, yeah.
So by the state providing more funding, as you pointed out, Corey, that hopefully will keep in check the tuition cost.
Yeah, hopefully.
From the jobs front, as far as unemployment, I mean, do we see any real signs of industry growth within the state that's kind of going in the right direction?
Well, there is some growth, and in the area of manufacturing, surprisingly, we've seen an uptick in activity and jobs. Our unemployment rate now has dropped down to just a little bit over 8%, and at one time it got as high as 9.5% and a little higher. We would like to see more growth, a greater amount of growth, but at this time it has come down. Now, some say that there's a lot of people out there that were on the unemployment rolls that just finally stopped looking.
Gave up.
Just gave up and dropped off, and they're not seeking employment. And so if that's the case, why they don't get calculated in the unemployment rate. So some argue that though the state Department of Labor is saying that unemployment is about 8.2%, that actually it's higher than that because there's a good group of people that just said, hey, we're no longer
That have just
seeking
given up on
employment
everything,
and are not calculated in the formula. So, but we do see revenue up slightly. It has grown here in the last few months anywhere from 2% all the way up to 3%. But right now it's about an increase of 2.7%, so it's in the black, and that's positive.
Good. Right.
So, it's been a slow recovery, as both of you know.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, in our area, as being agriculture, there's been some growth here in this area
Yes.
with job opportunities, new businesses, and other industries that attach themselves to the ag sector. Is that pretty well seen throughout the state?
Well, I think so. Missouri has a strong agriculture economy. Of course, we here in southeast Missouri know that agriculture plays an important role in our local economy, and with commodity prices having gone up, why farmers have done well. Though last year I think was a very challenging year for them because they had to fight the weather, the early rains and flooding that occurred early in the planting session, and put the crops in a little later, and so it was a challenge. I don't think they had a super yield year I'm talking about, but prices were good, and I think most of them made money. And I think that's the case across the state. We're seeing the price of commodities up. Missouri raises quite a bit of corn and soybeans, and cattle prices are up, and so that's a positive for our economy. A lot of times I think we take for granted our agriculture economy, but here in southeast Missouri and across the state, we have a strong ag economy and very good strong farming operations throughout the state.
That's great. That is. Well, Rob, I sure appreciate you coming in today.
Well, it's my
It's a pleasure to meet you, sir.
You bet,
See ya.
David. It's good to see
And
you.
we appreciate all you do up there.
Well, thank you. It's been a challenge the last 4 years. As I said, with the recession that hit back in '08, the very weak recovery out of the recession, it's a challenge to keep our state's budget balanced, but it's a positive thing. We have to do it. It's in our Constitution. I'm glad it's in our Constitution.
That's right.
Yes,
And one
sir.
of the proud things that we as Missourians can take heart in is that Missouri is one of just a few states that have a AAA bond rating. And that's very important if we ever, as a state, want to borrow money. And I think it demonstrates to prospective companies and businesses that the state of Missouri is strong financially.
And a good place to send your money. That's right.
correct.
That's right.
But that is a very good point that you make right there.
Yes.
Well, I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in to Watch Off the Cuff this week, and thank Mr. Mayor for coming and visiting
My
with us this
pleasure.
morning. And David, enjoyed having you as well.
Thank you very much.
And we'll be back next week with another guest. Thanks for watching.